Hey, welcome everyone. Uncovering growth in life's unscripted moments means learning to find strength, resilience, and personal development in situations where there is no clear plan or structure. Often we experience the most growth when life doesn't go as expected, whether it's a sudden change, a challenge, or an opportunity that comes out of nowhere. In these moments of uncertainty, we're pushed to adapt, reflect, and sometimes rethink our approach to life. By stepping outside of the rigid framework we often set for ourselves, we become more open to new possibilities and deeper insights. It's about embracing the unpredictability of life, using it as a catalyst for self discovery and transformation rather than resisting it. Welcome to another episode of The Other Side of Addiction. I am your host, Al Richards, and we have Rev Cindy Edelson on the show today, and we're going to be talking about letting go. Cindy, thank you so much for taking time out to be with us today.
Absolutely. I'm so happy to be here with you, Al.
Thank you, and I want to get a shout out to my friends Shane and Kathy Hughes. They are the
Yes.
ones that introduced us, so I love both you guys. Thank you so much, and also thank you guys for being a vendor at our 2024 Healing Utah Success Summit. It was an absolute honor to have you guys there. So thank you for your support.
Absolutely. We all really enjoyed meeting the people that were there and listening to the speakers. It was a great event, and we'll be back.
Oh my gosh, thank you. We love to hear that. Yeah, we're already starting to talk about when we're going to start planning our 2025. So we're going to do it all different again, which makes it fun. So, Cindy, I was reading your bio. My gosh, this is something that you kind of felt like this was your life journey at the age of 17. Is that correct?
Right. Yes, at the age of 17, I bumped into a friend of mine rented a room from this woman named Frida, and I was driving by her house and I just had to stop. And I knocked on the door and she said, "Well, Bob's not here." And I knew that because he rode a motorcycle and the motorcycle wasn't there. I said, "I'm here to say hello to you." And she invited me in. I call her my spiritual Eskimo. She was this amazing woman, Jewish woman, into numerology, into angels, into metaphysics. She invited me in. She taught me how to meditate. She changed the trajectory of my life. So I feel very blessed that I was able to plug into this at such a young age, and I really needed it. Let me tell you, I
Well,
was on a path of way too much partying. Let me say that. So
yeah.
she
Well,
definitely changed
at
my
that
life.
age, I can imagine because I was there too. I worked construction right out of high school. And, when you work construction, we worked our butts off very, very hard in the week. But man, we partied our butts off on the weekend.
Yes, yes. Play
Yeah.
hard, party hard. I've been there, done that.
Yeah. And so you've had quite a journey to actually get you to where you're at today. Would you like to share a little bit of that?
Sure. So, for me, being that my spiritual journey started at 17, I developed this internal muscle, my intuition. And for much of my life, I've always listened to that muscle. Now, I know that a lot of people know what I'm talking about, and some people might not recognize that in themselves, but we all have it. And for me, I feel very grateful that I developed it younger in life so that I put it to the test when I was, let's see, 21. I went to Europe with a backpack and a train pass and said, well, I'm just gonna, the train pass was for 3 months, and I did 3 months. And I remember getting off the train. I think this was somewhere in France, and I put my foot down on the ground, and I got this gut feeling like this is not where you belong. I didn't question it. I just turned around and I got back on the train. So I got off at a different stop, and lo and behold, at that stop, I met some amazing people and ended up staying on a boat, on a yacht with some people that I met for about 2 weeks. We had a great time together. We shared our love of music together. We shared our love of spirituality and would have really deep talks. So I had that opportunity to really use my internal guidance system. Now, fast forward when I got home from Europe and it was time to get to work, get to work. I kind of bought into that thinking that, well, it's time to get to work and I just have to be a good worker bee, make money to pay rent, make money to pay bills, make money to, have a car payment and all these things. And I veered a little bit off track because I was just buying into what everybody is taught when we're younger. Because for me, the more I listen to my intuition and I call it my soulful self, my higher self that is always listening for the whispers of spirit. And what happened for me was I was taken care of by spirit. I actually was working a job that was kind of a dead end job. And I brought a bunch of film that I had taken all these pictures on my trip to Europe into a photo lab, a professional photo lab. And the guy at the front counter, his name was Victor, and he said, I like you. I want you to work here. And I'm like, really? And he gave me an application and I went back to my dead end job. He knew where I worked. 2 weeks later, I hadn't brought the application back and he came to my job and said, I'm going to stand here until I get that application from you. And that in my heart, I know that was spirit taking care of me. See, I'm artistic. I've been painting since I was 10 years old. I love photography. Being creative is my jam. That's my happy place. And there I was all of a sudden working at a photo lab. They taught me, how to make prints, to color correct. They sent me to a special training at Kodak. Okay, I'm aging myself here. I went to Kodak headquarters and learned how to retouch film. I loved it. And that career that I entered in, I had no idea it was going to be a career, took care of me for almost 40 years.
Wow.
40 years of, and I didn't finish college. I did some junior college and then I went to art school and things like that. I didn't finish it, but you know what? For my path, it wasn't necessary because everything that I bumped into, it led me to the next level. It led me to the next thing. It led me to the next people that I needed to meet or the next job. In fact, I was very blessed in that I worked at a photo lab that processed film for the biggest photographers in the world. I'm talking Annie Leibovitz, Bruce Weber, Herb Ritz. I mean, the biggest fashion photographers, the biggest car photographers, architectural photographers. That's where I ended up in that particular moment. And at the same time, I was in my spiritual journey. I was progressing. I was going to workshops. I was going to retreats. I was reading books because that spiritual Eskimo named Frida that I talked about, she gave me a list of books for me to read. Many years later, I pulled out her card from my wallet and she had a business card that said, "Expect a miracle." The books were she wrote it on the back of that card. And when I flipped over the back of the card, I was like, oh my God. I just finished one of those books that she had on the card and had read all the other books. You know, this is what you get when you really listen to your inner spirit. And that's why part of my journey has been helping people let things go. I was meditating and I heard clearly letting it go. And since I'm an artist, I even saw what the logo looked like. Letting it go. It's a business. So I did that for many years. I went to people's homes. So letting it go, let me just back up for a minute. When I say letting it go, it's not about letting go of things, although it can be that. It's letting go of resentments, emotions, people, things, anything that's in your way of living your best life.
Hmm.
Because when we're carrying around these things, it's like dragging a bag of potatoes through the sand. It doesn't mean you can't get to where you're wanting to go. It's just much harder. Takes a
Oh,
whole lot more effort and slows you down.
boy, does it. Yeah.
For sure.
I watched it to pause you just for a second.
Yes.
Please keep your train of thought. I'll make this quick. But there was a time when my ex was in the depths of her addiction, and we had a coach that was working with her. And the coach gave her a river rock. I'm not
Mm,
talking one you can fit in your pocket. This river rock seriously was this big.
right.
My ex-wife is like 5'2", weighs 115 pounds. That rock's heavy for her. She had to carry that around for a week. And I had to
Mm,
make sure she carried it around for a week. So even if we went out to eat, you got to see some of the looks we got while she's walking in a restaurant carrying this rock. And we only did that once because she goes, I'm not doing that again. That's just too embarrassing. But the whole purpose of that exercise was you're carrying around all this weight. You're carrying, and how was it? It was uncomfortable, right? So why are you carrying around all this other stuff? So I just wanted to kind of touch base on what you was just sharing.
yeah, I love that analogy. It's perfect because, some people that I bump into say, "Well, Cindy, this is my collection. These are, these 1,000 books that, are in my room so that I can barely get to where I need to go because I have to walk over piles and piles of things. This is my collection. These are important to me." And I'd say, okay, so, let me ask you, what happens if you need to get to the other room and you can't do it because all these things are in your way? For example, um, and I do think that collecting things is another form of addiction. In fact, there's so many things that are on that list. It's not just drinking, it's not just drugs. It's shopping, it's eating, it can even be healthy things that we deem healthy. It can be over exercising. It could be,
Ah,
meditating too long instead of doing what you're meant to be doing as far as your work. You might want to just sit under that tree and meditate instead of deal with life that's in front of you. So this particular person that I work with, she had she had a very traumatic thing happen to her and her husband in San Francisco. I'm not going to use names. I'm just going to say that it was a pretty famous story, but her husband was killed right in front of her, and she, in turn, created a safety, what she felt like was safe, with mountains of stuff around her.
hmm.
She had moved from a big house to a smaller house and then to a one-bedroom place. Actually, it was a studio. And she invited me in because she needed help. I couldn't get in the front door without turning sideways. and pushing myself through. There was no clear path to the bathroom, no clear path to the kitchen, no clear path to, she had like a patio. You had to step over things. In her mind, she created a safety of this, this, all these walls around her to keep her from anyone coming in to hurt her because of what she had gone through. It was a therapist that actually recommended her to me, so that I could go in here in her space and help her clear it so that she couldn't even sit down at a table to eat a meal. And she was an artist. She couldn't paint or draw. There was no room. She could barely sleep. On top of her bed were notes and papers and books and her kitty cat. And I said, well, where do you sleep? Oh, I just kind of fit myself in here. So in other words, look, the things that we do that are addictions, the truth is we do them because our ego thinks that we're protecting ourselves. They're there for a reason. And I want to say this. I've coined the 3 parts of letting go. I call it the triple A's of letting go. The first one is acknowledge. See, she needed to really acknowledge her story. She had a story around the mountains that she had built around herself. And we all get to do that. We get to acknowledge the reasons or the ways that we have become carrying around these extra burdens. The reasons, everybody has a good reason for their behavior. Well, I had to go out and buy that bottle of vodka or whatever because I had a really hard day.
And we're trying to justify it.
Exactly. Right. And that's the story. But, I have good news about our stories. The good news about our stories is that we get to be wiser because of them. I'm very careful to not speak my story from the pulpit because I am, a minister that speaks almost every week. If I'm in the midst of a story, and believe me, it doesn't matter who you are, how enlightened you are, how much work you've done on yourself, we all go through messy times in our life and things that are challenging for us. And when I'm in the midst of the challenge and I haven't gotten to the wisdom part of it, I don't speak about it until I've done my work. So with this particular person, she still had work to do about her story. She needed to acknowledge her pain and trauma. In fact, I was there one day and she gave me a newspaper article. And she very gently put it in my hands and she said, I don't want you to read this, but I don't want it in my home. And it was the story of this traumatic story that happened to her and her husband that they would write about every year on the anniversary. And they would reach out to her to make comments and things. And I said, I will take this, I will tear it up, I will burn it, it's gone. And I encouraged her to, next time they called for a quote on this story, to say, that's my past. I have nothing to add to your writing. Stand up for yourself. You don't have to relive this year after year. And that's what was happening. She was reliving it year after year instead of dealing with the depth of despair and trauma, the trauma in her life. I can't even imagine, what she went through. I'm not going to belittle it in any way, shape, or form, but the work hadn't been done completely and fully for her to move on. So that's the first A, acknowledge. And we can all do that. So for whatever behavior we have or challenge we have, I want people to just sit and think about what your story is. When you meet someone and you get to know them well and you say, oh, this thing happened to me. When you're telling a person what happened to you, if you can't come from the wisdom that you glean from it, then I want you to take that story and speak to someone professional so that you can find the wisdom in it, right? And professional, it might mean someone that's in your group that you speak the same language. It could be a therapist, it could be a minister, it could be a counselor, whatever works for you. And I'm just called to say this. Even though many of us are probably on the other side of the things that we've gone through, it doesn't mean that we aren't supposed to be doing our work. In other words, I am a spiritual counselor practitioner, and I have a spiritual counselor practitioner. And I will never not have this person in my life because my community laughs at me. I have this phrase, life is always lifing. You
Mhm.
know, life is happening and things that are unexpected happen. And when they throw you for a loop and you're not expecting them, you get to talk to someone about them. I personally want to talk to someone that I know knows the truth of who I am rather than talk to someone that's going to buy into the drama of it, if that makes sense.
No, it makes a lot of sense. That would be like well, like me being my ex-wife's um therapist with alcohol when I had no clue how to do it, right? But I thought I did, right? It was the drama
Right.
part of it. So I've even joked in some of my talks where I said, yeah, I was actually a certified drug or alcoholic therapist. And I'm like, see, here's my certificate. And it would be a blank piece of paper. It's like, well, it's blank because I really sucked at it because I didn't have a clue.
Right, right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, absolutely. So that's the first A of letting it go. Acknowledge.
Okay.
Acknowledge your story. Um, if you don't have someone to talk to about it, write it down, journal about it. There's ways to just get it out. Um, the next A they're all important, but the next A is very important. It's acceptance. So, in other words, we all come from these backgrounds, these things that have happened in our life. And we want to, I know that sometimes people say they're motivated uh, by themselves doing a bad job because they want to do a better job. Okay, that's fine. However, we must accept what has happened in our past and come to that wisdom point. So, self acceptance, self love. In fact, I would say 99.9% of people that come see me, what it comes down to is that they are not loving themselves. They're not accepting themselves. They're
Mhm.
judging themselves. So, that acceptance piece is key to moving on, to letting go, to getting to the next step. I know that for myself that it comes in layers. I'm light years from where I used to be at 17. I remember, who I was at that age, and oh, was I hard on myself and judging myself and, thought I was, not good at anything and all that stuff. And when I see, it's almost like a ladder. I've taken one step at a time to come to a point where I love and accept myself. And even when I might say something that isn't how I want to show up, because sometimes it slips out, especially with my partner, with my wife. She'll say, and I say, that really wasn't very, very nice, and I apologize. I could have said that in a better way. But I catch myself now. It used to be that it was very unconscious, but as I've accepted myself, as I've continued this path of loving who I am, exactly the way I am, I catch myself in the moment sometimes. Oh, in fact, I was at a store I ordered a part for my car and they called me to say it came in, and I went to the dealership and they couldn't find it. And I caught myself getting getting all frustrated with them, and and I know what that energy gets. Not a heck of a lot. So the guy's running around and he's looking for it, and I caught myself. I took a breath, because that's the other thing that I do is I do a lot of breath work, because for me taking a conscious breath brings me home.
Oh my gosh, breath work is so important. So
It is.
important.
It is so important. So you can do it in a moment while you're standing there. I did it. And then he came back in the room and I said, look, I'm very sorry for my energy and how I was treating you. If you could help me, I'd really appreciate it. you know. And he said, hang on a second. He the UPS truck was there, and he said, I need to look for something, and he went onto the truck and found the package. They were going to send it back for some unknown reason, and he brought it to me with this big smile on his face, and he's like, look, I found it. And I was like, you're the best, you rock, oh my God. But the only reason that happened is because I caught myself.
Yeah, you shifted.
I totally shifted.
Yep.
And, you know, it's powerful, because that's, for me, that's a form of self-love, is noticing my behavior. Am I coming from a place of love and kindness and compassion? If I'm not, then I want to shift that immediately, because if I'm coming from a place of judgment and crankiness, that's giving myself judgment and crankiness.
Yeah. And I don't think, Cindy, a lot of people understand that, right? Because that's exactly what we are doing when we're throwing. I just like to put it this way: when we're throwing shit balls,
Yeah.
because we're already covered in it.
Right. Yes. Well, I tell people, and sometimes they get mad at me. I say, there's nobody out there. Everything is a mirror. Everything is a mirror for what's going on in here.
Mhm.
And if you're looking out there and you're thinking someone's a horrible person, then guess what, my friend? There's something for you to look at in here.
Yeah.
And it's a tough one. It's a tough one. It doesn't happen like, automatically. It takes time and practicing. It takes time and practicing to say, hey, where in my life am I not being loving? Where in my life am I being violent? See, violence just doesn't mean a gun or a knife or something like that. Violence can be language. Wow, how we talk to ourselves. Man, back in the day when I used to, tell myself terrible things about myself, a friend would never talk to me like that.
Mm-mm.
But yet we do it to ourselves.
Yeah.
So if we're in the midst of an addictive behavior and you're talking to yourself saying, what's wrong with you? You're broken, you idiot. Why? No, no. Talk to yourself like you're talking to your 10-year-old self. Oh, honey, I'm so sorry you feel like you need to do this behavior to be okay. Here, let me give you some love. Let me give you a hug. Let's talk about it. Let's go somewhere and talk about it. Let's talk to a friend. You know, um, since I've been through that myself, it always hurts my heart when people call themselves names,
Yeah. Yep.
because been there, done that. But so that second A, acceptance, very, very, very important. The last A in letting it go and moving on is action. Because, I know for some, okay, I live in our center it's not about being religious. It's about spirituality and finding your own groove with your own spirituality and your own language to talk to your higher power, whatever you call it. And action for some of my real spiritual friends is doing a prayer and meditating, but not leaving the couch. And I'm like, no, we have this term called pray and move your feet.
Mm.
Once you put it out there into the universe, what your prayer is, and our prayer, the way we pray in our community, is it's called affirmative prayer. We don't beg. We don't say, please. We say, this is my birthright. I am born on purpose with a purpose, and my purpose means that I need to be clear-headed, I need to be alert, I need to be at the ready so that I can serve. I can serve other people with what my talents and my gifts are. So, action, it doesn't always mean that you're going to jump off a cliff and make a big move. It might just mean a little step at a time. And I tell this to the folks that I would help declutter. I'd say, okay, all I want from you is a half hour for the first week, a half hour each day. You're going to go to a closet or a drawer and you're just going to work on that for a half hour. You're going to keep, toss, recycle. You're going to make these 3 piles and you're just going to do it for a half hour a day. And they're like, but Cindy, that's I've got so much stuff. I said, trust me here. If they get the hang of a half hour a day, I might say, okay, you're ready. We're going to go for an hour a day. And what happens is after you do that on a daily basis, you're forming new muscles,
Mm.
new
Here.
habits. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then you get used to it. It's like when I first started meditating with Frida, she said, darling, all I want for you to do is 21 days. Do it for 21 days and it will form a new habit for you. You'll have this meditation habit your whole life. And I'm really grateful for that. So when people are trying to let go of things, and let's say if it's not things or clutter in your house, let's say it's a half hour of decluttering what's in your mind a day, because perhaps you have resentments or frustrations of things that happened in the past that are part of your story. So then you can declutter by doing your journaling. Maybe you don't like writing. You can speak into your phone. All our smart devices have these recorders on them, or you can get recording apps for free. Sit there for maybe you're not ready to do a half hour a day. Time yourself 10 minutes. 10 minutes. Get whatever's out of what's rattling around in there out so that you can get to that place of self-love and acceptance.
Yeah.
You know, the truth of who we are. In our community, and I've bumped into many people that have been on the road to recovery. Well, many people in our community. You know, we have people that, you know, that are 6 months, a year, 27 years, you know, all different ages, all different circumstances in their life. And what I find is common in all of them that are actually, you know, getting to the other side is that they found a practice, a spiritual practice that works for them. So it might be, well, since this is the month of gratitude, a gratitude practice. Man, it seems so easy, but yet it's so powerful. 3 things you're grateful for every day. Write it down or post it on social media or put it in your phone or whatever. 3 things, because again, it's switching up that stuff in your brain. Instead of focusing on things that are not working, we want to focus on what is working.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Because have you ever been like car shopping and you think, oh, I like that particular car, that model, and then you go out in your car and all you see is that model? It's
Happens all the time.
everywhere. Yes. So it's the same theory that, whatever we focus on is what turns up in our life.
Mhm.
If you're focusing on your life not working, you're going to see more life not working. So if you're focusing on those things that you're grateful for, things that are working, then you get more of those things.
And I want to go a little into this too, is I have also found in my journey for the past 15 years, okay, I'm rebuilding myself and who I want to be and what I want to leave behind me. There's times my ego's kicked in and I've gotten very cocky going, yep, I got this. I got him right here in the palm of my hand. And
Right.
it seems with every single time when that's happened, God, who is my higher power, has a way of slapping me upside the head and go, no, you don't. Because something will happen in my life and I'm going, okay, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Okay, I get it. I get it. And you start getting off that path. So you start, it's like your car out of alignment. You let go of the steering wheel and it just slowly starts drifting left or right.
Right. Right.
And so you got to keep your hands on the wheel at all times. However, also when you have that faith of your higher power, whatever again that may be for you, it's a lot easier to keep that steering wheel straight. It's when we start pulling away from that is when we start seeing that life change again. And it takes time, like you said. 15 years that I've been doing this, there was a time in my life, Cindy, where I wrote down every single day, like you said, three things I'm grateful for. I got a book that's this thick, and I wrote on the front and back every single day. And sometimes I'd do it when I'd come home. And it was an exercise to me. I'm at one time I'm thinking, this is so stupid. This is so freaking boring. I can't believe. However, I started opening my eyes and started realizing I'm out on a patio one day having a cup of coffee. And I'm going, my gosh, I am grateful I can hear the birds this morning. Something so simple, right?
Yes.
Or
Yes.
or you get a whiff of somebody cutting their grass. Oh my gosh, I'm so grateful I get to smell that fresh lawn being cut.
Right.
It's
Right.
just not like I'm grateful that I got a raise today, or I'm grateful that my wife loves me. I mean, yeah, those are great things, but it's
Right.
the small things. It's the small things that I started recognizing by doing that exercise.
Right, right. But and that's a part of it. See, you are exercising your muscle so that you could recognize those small things and like you said, keep your hands on the wheel so that you can go the direction that you're meant to go. And that's why spiritual practices are so important. And I think, well, I guess maybe because it's easy for me, gratitude, I mean, okay, a gratitude practice from what, 40 years ago is the days of Oprah. That was one of the first things that she unveiled on her show was a gratitude practice. And I caught on way back then. I kind of lost it and then I came back to it. But it's so powerful. Maybe your practice is being in service, helping others, holding a door open, being really calm in traffic and letting people merge in. Those are all practices. And the more that we practice them, the easier it is, and the more we find our life going the direction that we're hoping for. And like you said, Al, sometimes spirit, God, whatever you call it, kind of slaps us upside the head and says, hey, you're being cocky, you need to be humble, and catches you off guard. So my little humble moment as of lately, I in the middle of the night woke up with my foot hurting and I'm like, what is going on? And I tossed and I turned and I didn't think much about it. It went away. In the morning there was a little round red spot on the top of my foot, so it looked like I was bitten by a spider or something. And I'm like, well, it doesn't hurt, I'm not gonna put any energy on this. And we were going on a couple of vacations. We were going to Zion. We were going to do some hiking. I did it. And at the end of the day, I would take off my shoe and go, it hurts a bit. And then I noticed it started getting bigger, the red spot. It started kind of spreading. The next weekend, we had plans with friends to go to St. George and do some biking and pickleball playing and things like that. And it just got worse. And by the time we got back from that trip, I said, okay, I surrender. I surrender. I'm going to the ER. It ended up, the bacteria from whatever bit me, and you can't really know what really bit me, really kind of messed with my foot, and they had to lance it. And I don't need to go into the gory details, but I'm still kind of walking in one of those post-op shoes. But
Hmm.
here's what it did for me. Before that time off, I was going 100 miles an hour. All these things that I want to do for 2025. I was teaching a class at the center. I was starting all these new initiatives, and there's nothing wrong with all these things that are coming to me. However, I wasn't doing a good job of self-care in pacing myself and resting properly. So what happened for me is Spirit said, you're going to stop.
Yeah.
You're going to surrender. You're going to stop. You're going to sit. You're going to sit with your foot up, and you're going to recover so that you can be internal and think about how you're going to unfold all of these things that you want to get done. But most importantly, you're going to take care of yourself. So I do believe, Al, that we can do that without the two by four up the side of our head.
Hmm.
However, I wasn't paying attention close enough. And the signs were there, but I was powering through it.
Yeah.
There's nothing, you know, at least for me in my life, I've powered through a lot of things. And the best thing for me is to not power through and go with the flow. I need to go where I'm meant to be. And sometimes that means I have to put things on the back burner and pay attention to other things first. And for me and for anyone that's listening to this, if you're on the road to recovery or you have loved ones in recovery, it means you have to listen to that intuitive, that gut feeling. You have to take the breath and find that soulful self. And when I say soulful self, you might think of words like the higher self, ourselves that are in complete alignment with spirit. We wouldn't be beings on this earth if we weren't
Right.
in alignment with the one. Because I really do believe in oneness. So when I'm really paying attention, the first thing I need to do is put my mask on first before I serve others. And I wasn't doing that. I wasn't putting my mask on. I was just powering through it because I had so much on my plate and so many people to support and serve, a whole community of them, and I love them. And yet I needed to take care of myself, and I got that little spider in the middle of the night that's let's see, it's going on about 3 weeks now that I'm sort of
Wow.
hobbling. Yeah.
Well,
So it's almost done, but I'm grateful for the experience.
and I love that you noticed it. There is a message, a lesson behind everything that happens to us in life. And to be able to do what you do, right? And it's something that a lot of people can work on slowly but surely. But again, look at the lesson behind it. There's a message behind everything, and you're quick to understand that, going, oh my gosh, okay, yes, I'm not listening. Here's my shot over the bow, basically, right?
Right,
It's
right.
time to
Yeah,
pay attention.
absolutely.
Yeah, because it is so very important. And talking about the title of letting go, it's just not also letting go of things permanently, because there are things that we can let go permanently. However, there's also some things that we can let go for a short period of time, not meaning we can't go back to it. It's just that this is where life is leading us. It's if you've ever gone river rafting, you go river rafting, and you go on the rapids, and it's taking your boat like out of flipping control, right? But you do have a person in the back that's helping you. You know,
Right.
it's almost like God or our spirits is that person in the back kind of steering the boat. We get rid of that person, where's our raft going to go? We have no clue. It's going to hit rocks. It may tip over. It may throw the rest of us off.
Right.
And so, listening to life and allowing life to take us on the journey and allowing that journey to happen, I think is so important. Can we do it every single time? No, because we're human. We're life. We allow life, the 3D world, to come in and take our vision away every once in a while. However, as we practice this, as you said many times through the show, we start recognizing it a lot quicker. It doesn't take us near as long to come back from left field as it
Right. Right.
would, now that we understand things a little more.
Well, and community is such an important part of that. Your community that you've built here and the community that we have at Salt Lake Center for Spiritual Living. Because when you walk through those doors, people have been in this conversation and understand how important it is to exercise our spiritual practices so that we can stay on course. And I see it in people, and I invite people to say, if I say something unconscious, I invite my congregation to say, "Hey, Rev, think about what you just said." If I'm saying, "Oh, we don't have money for this, or we're not abundant," no, you're putting that out into the universe. So when people walk through the door, we get to lovingly remind each other of who we are, the power that we have, the power of this mind that we have. See, I don't want my mind to drive my life, the egoic mind, the egoic mind that's just trying to keep me safe. I want to be led by my heart. And so I am very, very conscious that if my mind is working in overdrive, that it's time for me to step back and meditate or pray or do my gratitude practice or serve someone else. And that's what we do at the center. We have all kinds of opportunities to be, in education and classes, to serve the community, or to do outreach projects with each other, to remind each other, oh, we want to be grateful, or abundance. The only way that new things are going to come into our life is if we let go. If we've got our fists like this, more can't come in. But if we truly let go, amazing, amazing things can happen.
Yeah.
So,
I love that. And I love the triple A's. I mean, that is really, really good stuff. And also your little analogy of fear, the false evidence appearing real, because
yes.
that is so huge. And it's crazy how fear keeps us away from so many things in life. However, also, it's crazy when you do start opening up and paying attention. And a quick little story of mine, and some of our listeners may have heard this, but when I first started my journey after I lost my job of 24 years, I got hired on to sell insulation for attics for the energy conservation. And I had this appointment in West Valley, and I went out and met the lady there, and her name was BB, or is BB.
Hmm.
And I inspected her attic, and I said, "Yeah, BB, you qualify. If we, let me know where I can sit down and we'll do the paperwork. Give me your utility bills." And she goes, "Oh, sit down at my kitchen table." And she gets me the bills, and I'm writing all the paperwork down and checking things, and I could feel her staring at me. And I'm starting to get uncomfortable because she is just staring at me. And finally she goes, "Al, something's telling me to give you a book." And I said, "BB, thank you very much, but I don't read. I think reading is just really boring. I'm just not a reader." And she kind of let it go, and I'm doing the paperwork some more. And then she goes, "Al, no, seriously, something's telling me I have to give you a book." Again, BB, thank you. Well, the third time she says it again, and I said, BB, I don't read. That's when she came on court. She goes, then you pick your effing paperwork up and get the hell out of my effing house right now. And I was like, excuse me? I mean, she was yelling at me and throwing this profanity, at me. And she goes, you either take this effing book or you get the F out of here right now. Well, I needed the money. So, okay, I'll take the book. I'll take the book. And it was Eckhart Tolle's book, The New Earth.
Oh man.
And it's crazy because I took it. She even signed it. She put her name in it and signed it. 2 weeks later, I'm at a West Jordan Chamber event at a luncheon, and I put my business card in this little bowl, and my card gets drawn out, and I win another Eckhart Tolle book, The Power of Now. And I went, okay, I'm listening.
Oh, that's
And
awesome.
that was seriously like the beginning of this whole journey that I went on, because it took me a long time before I started reading that book, and I finally picked it up. And The New Earth is kind of a hard read. At least it was for me. The Power of Now, though, I was really going, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. And also in a selfish way, I got involved with the chamber and some other things because I heard that God will reward you if you give back to the community. Well, I was still in my lying and manipulating and selfish ways. And so I'm like, oh, okay. So I start doing this stuff going,
Right.
hey, what's in it for me? Right. Because you
Yeah.
said it took me that time and getting these books before my mind started shifting and going, wait a minute, I'm really starting to enjoy this. Oh my gosh, I'm having so much fun meeting these other people and giving back to other people. And it got to where next thing I knew, I was on 5 different committees, and I was chair and co-chair for Best Buddies Utah, where we work with Down syndrome and autistic kids, and
Hmm.
I wasn't getting paid for none of this stuff. And really seriously, I needed money.
Right.
Ever the feeling that I got from it and the direction it was taking my life. See, I get emotionally talking about it. Slowly but surely, I could feel me as an individual changing.
Mm.
There was a shift happening inside me, and I didn't know where it was going to go. I didn't know what was happening, but where it's led me now here 15 years later, I was telling somebody last week, I says, for the first time in my freaking life, I can honestly say I love who I am
Mm.
as an individual. And I thought I loved myself before, but totally in the wrong way. I was a liar. I was a manipulator. I did whatever Al needed to do to get whatever Al wanted. I had
Right.
anger issues, and to see who I am as an individual now, and I go back and think, man, letting go. I let go of all that BS and all the pain I caused other people and all the harm, just not for them, but for my own life. And all
Right.
the BS I manifested in my life, the BS crap, to
Yeah.
where now I'm manifesting amazing people in my life. They just keep coming out of the woodwork when I'm looking for something. It just seems like God just puts them right there in front of me out of nowhere.
Yes.
Letting go, stop these carrying these. My buddy Curtis Marsh likes to say, you know, change those rocks in your backpack to nuggets of gold.
Mm. Yes. Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
love how he puts that.
So that reminds me of wabi sabi in
Wabi
Japan.
sabi.
What it's called wabi sabi in Japan. If they're creating like a bowl and the bowl gets a crack in it, they don't throw it away. They embellish it with gold.
I saw a thing on the Facebook or internet on that.
Right. So the point of that is, look, we all go through stuff, and there's times where our hearts break. There's times where we feel broken, and it doesn't mean that we get to throw ourselves away. We get to embellish ourselves with gold, and self-love. And that's what will happen when you let go of these things that are no longer serving you. Because we get used to them they become a part of us. Somehow we identify with what people tell us about who we are. We start believing it. Like when I was a kid and I went to a new school and they said, "Oh, you're not good at math. We're putting you in a remedial math program." My family comes from a long line of like bookkeepers and accountants that are like amazing at math, but I believe them. I had to let go of that story,
Yeah.
and my math skills are fine. They're great, but I really believed what someone told me about myself. The truth is that we are remarkable, magnificent beings of light. And I'm not talking about this from a religious sense. I am saying we are energy beings. You know, we are so much more than we give ourselves credit for.
Yes.
And if we just allow ourselves to take that in and know that we can accomplish anything that we want to. But here's my caveat. That old Al that was manipulative and wanted what Al wanted could get through life and get what you wanted, right? But it wasn't serving you. It wasn't a happy life. It was kind of swimming upstream.
Exactly.
The minute you really listen to your heart and your soul and live from your soulful self and realize that you're here with this grand purpose, whatever it might be, then and you start going with the flow and going downstream, it's amazing. And when you're going downstream, the branches and leaves and stuff that don't serve you, they just get out of the way for you. I've said this before, especially when it comes to addictions. When you really do the triple A's of letting it go, guess what? You don't have to do anything because the addiction or the behavior will let go of you.
True.
It's very different than working at it. It's very different than making it happen. It's allowing yourself to come to center the truth of who you are, that magnificence of who we are, the energy of who we are, the light of who we are. So anyway, I don't want to get off subject here, but it's great to have this conversation with you. Um, I love the work that you're doing, and it's just a testament to you, you know, listening when those Eckhart Tolle books just like threw themselves at you. Like, hello, this is who you're meant to be. This is the conversation that you're meant to have, and now you're doing this amazing work. So
Yeah.
I just want to, invite if anyone's out there that is looking for a community, a spiritual community. And we're not about being religious. We're a spiritual community. You come in the way you are, with wherever you are on your path, wherever you are on your journey. Maybe you don't have, a strong connection with your higher power, and you're just in the midst of developing that for yourself. It doesn't matter if you've been working on this for 20, 30, 40 years and you have a strong connection. You come in where you are, and we all have these wonderful conversations and practice our practices together and meet amazing people that want to be here as a beneficial presence rather than sucking the life out of our family and friends.
Yeah, and that's what I love. When I was on the phone with Shane Hughes, and he was telling me all about the Salt Lake Spiritual Living, and he's invited me, and I says, yeah, one of these times I will get there. It's just my life is crazy as well. However, I love what you guys are all about, because and I don't need to throw out there, but there's a lot of judgment in other arenas out there. And it doesn't sound like that's what it is at the Salt Lake Spiritual Living. Everyone accepts everyone as who they are, what they are. They come in because they're all there for only one thing, and that's to get everything inside here, right? It's that
That's right.
spirituality. And to have
Yep.
that all in common, in my version, it's very, very powerful. Because as we're talking about energy, that energy just keeps growing, it just keeps increasing, and it's hard to pull away from that as it's building, right? It just kind of sucks us in, and
Right.
we need that. We need other individuals. We need to surround ourselves with under other individuals like-minded. So if I'm struggling with something, I know that all I got to do is pick up a phone or show up on a Sunday or whenever you guys have your
Yep.
meetings, and I can get my answer right away and not be judged from it.
Exactly. So, a few things about what we do. One is we stream our services every Sunday. So if you're not ready to come out of the house to see what we're all about, just go to our website, spirituallyfree.org. So www.spirituallyfree.org. You,
Spirituallyfree.org.
right. Or that's one way to, you just click on watch service there, or you could go on to our Facebook page, which is Salt Lake Center for Spiritual Living, and you can look at the live streaming there. So we stream it. We've got a 9:30 meditation service, an 11 a.m. celebration service. And we've got all kinds of classes and events. I mean, this weekend we have our gratitude potluck. It's going to be off the hook. In fact, service this Sunday, I won't be speaking. I kind of get a day off. I'll be hosting. Our band is taking over and doing an all music service. So if you're into great music, it's a great time to come meet us. In December, we're going to have the men's choir from the Other Side Academy.
Oh my gosh, really? Holy cow.
Yes, on December 15th. We always have great music. It's just a great place to be. But we do a lot of things online. A lot of our classes we offer online too, if you don't want to come out of the house in the winter. We've got a foundations of science of mind. One of the creators of the philosophy that we're in, his name is Ernest Holmes, and we're doing a foundations class starting in January. And if you don't want to come in, you can do it online. So this is an entry level of the philosophy and the tools that we teach. So there's just go to the website. Everything is there. Everything is there. We always have lots of fun stuff going on. And we'd love to see you there. And if not, stream. We've got a great community that they just stream. In fact, I have friends back in California that they're a part of our community, but they do it online.
Wow.
So
And where are you guys located at, Cindy?
in Murray,
Okay.
yeah, yeah, we're in Murray, and let me get the address: 4516 South 7th. But let me just
4516 South 700 East or
yeah,
7 7
let me
West.
get it here for you. It's 4516 South 700 East.
Oh, okay.
The the services are upstairs in our sanctuary. It's Suite 350. We also have a classroom on the first floor for some of our education stuff.
Okay. I love it. Well, thank you so much for your time again. Thank you. My gosh, this was really a great show. I love the information that you shared, and I actually love the title about letting go because there's so much garbage that so many of us are hanging on to that again it's not servicing us. And my mom was telling me the other day here before we close, she's talking about all this crap that's been going on and how we're all being poisoned. And she's like, how come you just don't pay attention to stuff? It's like, because I like to stay in my happy bubble, because if I'm paying attention to that, I'm feeding to that. I don't want to
Right,
feed to it.
right,
I don't want to
right.
give it the energy that a lot of other people are doing. I would rather just give my energy and my bubble and like to stay there. And seriously, it does change your life when you can do it. And I'm not saying you don't need to know what's going on in the world. However, just don't feed off of it. Don't give your energy to it.
Right. You can either feed the fears or you can feed your dreams and inspirations.
Yeah.
So
Back to
we're
your
at choice. We have free will. That's the good and bad news. We have free will to make our own choices, right? So I choose to be happy and to appreciate my fellow humans on this journey with me and to be of service and to love, to just come from a place of love, you
That's it.
know. So
Love is the
thank
key.
you.
Love
Thank
is
you for having me. I enjoyed our conversation and I look forward to more in the future.
Sounds good. And again, thank you so much for your time. Greatly appreciate it and all your support and love and kindness. So, and thank you again for what you do as well, because you do amazing things and it's helping people. And that's what we're all here to do. We've got to help more people, so thank you. Guys, thank you to all our listeners, all our guests, past sponsors, guys. We couldn't do this without you, especially you listeners. You guys are the ones that's keeping this thing going. We really, really do appreciate you. And we're going to end it with this as we do at the end of every show. Remember, addiction is giving up everything for one thing, and recovery is giving up one thing for everything. We're out.